Welcome everybody to the X Factor Podcast, episode 12, here today on a Thursday afternoon, or Thursday morning for some people. Sorry I didn't post anything on Wednesday, did not feel well, but we're right back at it here today. I will be getting my NXT reactions overview, today as well as Dynamite review. And as of for me going through the rosters, I'm gonna redo the NXT one because I was rushing through the entire thing, which is one thing I don't want to do in this podcast is rush everything through. I just want to get fluent right through and get everything right done with, and then I'll be going through the NXT roster and then the sections like I did for Raw. And then for Dynamite, I'm doing the same thing for that later on this week. I'll probably do that on probably Saturday, maybe. Probably Saturday or Monday, because I don't post on Sundays. So, but we're going to get right into here with NFL action. As Moore's free agency's going on, I'm going to start posting NFL stuff every other day. So, and I'll start off every episode with NFL stuff, and then I'll go on with wrestling stuff later on. So if you like long podcasts where I talk for however long, and you just want to sit there, listen to it, don't want to hear anything, boom. Or don't want to watch anything, boom, don't really got to, just got to listen. So, let's get right into it here. I did talk about OJ Howard the other day, talking about going to the Raiders and how I think it would be a great fit for him. And getting right into the fit of things and how he was, in my opinion, was disrespected when he was with the Buccaneers. He did end up signing with the Raiders, which I do think is a great signing for the Raiders. I don't think he'll be back to the old OJ Howard we've seen before Bruce Arians came along, but I do think he'll do solid for the Raiders. So all I know is he'll probably crack 500 receiving yards and probably 4 or 5 touchdowns probably. So, other NFL action here. The Falcons host Mike Hughes, the former Viking Mike Hughes, 2 days ago, and then the Ravens also host Nelson Aguilar. We have not got any news on that yet. Texans have agreed to a agreement with Devin Singletary, and they've been active. Texans have been active this offseason, bringing in guys like Dalton Schultz, now Devin Singletary. They brought in Shaq Mason as well, so hopefully the Texans bring in more people to come in, and plus they're going to draft a quarterback anyway, so, and bringing Devin Singletary is a great fit for them, because he'll also be alongside with Dameon Pierce as well, so, and then whatever quarterback they bring in, whether it's CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, because either way they're getting one of those two. So it's a win-win situation for the Texans and a win-win situation for the Panthers since they got the first overall pick. Austin Hooper, he expected to host the Raiders, which I believe he signed, so give me a minute here. Sean Murphy Bunting is now a Tennessee Titan. He is now another Buccaneers player leaving the Buccaneers. I just feel like it sucks for the Buccaneers because I think they're just losing players by week. By the week, they're losing more players. And the more I keep thinking about it, the more they're going to lose more star power players like Godwin, Mike Evans. At some point, they're probably going to trade them as well. So, in my opinion, Todd Bowles and the organization is kind of letting it all go downhill now since Brady retired. So, but they did bring in Baker, so that's all right for them. Mike Hughes expected to sign with the Falcons. Another defensive player that the Falcons have brought in to team up with AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates. The Falcons defensively are going to look great next year. They're bringing in a lot of players, quite a few players from free agency, and offensive-wise, the only thing I have a concern with the Falcons offensive-wise is the quarterback position because how Desmond Ridder played last season. So I feel like they can go right into next year feeling great as a 7 to 9 win team maybe. Because if they don't, Arthur Smith's going to get fired. And That's one thing I don't want to see because I feel like Arthur Smith has a lot to offer for the Falcons. So, and then the Bills are signing Damian Harris, which I think I talked about that the other day. Dante Hightower calls it a career. A Patriot for life. One of the best Patriot linebackers. Some of the best that they've had around. Dante Hightower finally calls it a career. Let's see. On the Isaiah McKenzie is going to be signing with the Indianapolis Colts. Not a big signing, but it's a good signing. It's an alright signing. Bringing another receiver. So, Falcons have reinstated Eddie Goldman after he retired last year. So I'm believing he's coming to the Falcons. That's another player they're going to bring in. And I think Eddie Goldman will just try to. I think slowly he'll get back to the old Eddie Goldman. The Falcons are also going to host Calais Campbell. That's something. If they can bring in Calais Campbell, their defense is all set for next year. So, Cowboys have re-signed Dante Fowler to a 1-year deal. Six sacks with 30% snaps for Dante Fowler last year is really good. Is really, really good. So, bringing Dante Fowler back with Dan Quinn's defense, I think if Dan Quinn would have left, I don't think we would have re-signed him. So, great to see Dante Fowler back. Keeping our, not calling Legion of Boom, but I'll figure out a nickname for the Cowboys defense next year. Don't worry. Arizona Cardinals are signing Antonio Hamilton and DJ Collier to a 1-year deal. There have been more conversation with Jonah Williams for trade. Couple of the teams I've been thinking about that need offensive linemen. Seattle would be a great place for him. Arizona would be a great place for him. Chicago. If I was Chicago, I'd be getting on the phone right now talking to Arizona. Even if it has to get rid of some of your draft picks, I'd go straight on forward with it. And I know they've already brought Nate Davis in, but like I said, you need an offensive, because if you have a bad offensive line, you can't use the weapons you have around you as good. But when you have a decent offensive line, alright offensive line, you can use your weapons as good as you want. And they showed that with the Chiefs this last couple years. So, if I was the Chicago Bears, I would be going right after Jonah Williams. Don't matter what it costs. Texans add Desmond Perriman to their team as they add another player to their team, Desmond Perriman. It's an alright signing for them as a 1-year deal. He's now going to be going for DeMeco Ryans' defense in Houston. One thing I'm starting to think about here is a lot of the people that the Texans are bringing in, they're not really shown big stuff in the NFL, Like, they've had their moments, but they haven't showed anything big. And I think Texans is one of those teams that they can show their real potential all next season. So, that's one thing that just keeps an eye out for me. So, the Browns are bringing back Anthony Walker to a 1-year deal. Panthers had a workout with C.J. Stroud yesterday. By the sounds of everything, it looked good. It sounded good. And by the more I keep hearing stuff, the more I keep thinking that C.J. Stroud might be going to Carolina. But I will be getting my mock draft. Speaking of mock drafts, I'm going to start my first mock draft tomorrow. I'll have it all written down for trades and everything. I'll have everything done, written off. So, just letting everybody know that is what's going to go on tomorrow. So, that'll be going on. I could potentially also do the roster things tomorrow too, because there's not really much to talk about tomorrow. But if one one thing I'll tell everyone on the podcast right now. If there's nothing to talk about from a Thursday perspective, then the Friday I won't do anything. I will wait until Saturday to say something, because if there's not much to talk about, I won't talk as much. But as long as if you guys people in the comments suggest things, put things in the comments. What do you want me to talk about? What do you want me to say? Like, what things you want me to hear from my perspective of things? Get in the comments. I know someone said life experiences, which I already know who that is. A good friend of mine. So that will be one thing I will be getting through later. I did say I was gonna do it today, but I'm gonna do that a later date of my life, because I'm only 17 years old. It's not like I'm like 45 years old able to talk my life. So that's gonna be something I'm gonna talk about later down the road. I will talk about things I like, things I don't like. Things are pretty much how life is, pretty much. Because I might be only like a 17-year-old person, but my mind sometimes thinks like a way older person. So in a life perspective. So but on back to NFL stuff. Don't worry about me. So let's see what else we got here. The Jets have agreed to terms with Mecole Hardman. I used to say Miracle Hardman. I used to say that when he was drafted. But Jets have signed Miracle Hardman to a 1-year, $6 million deal. And I think that's a good signing for the Jets. But I did notice they did trade Elijah Moore yesterday to the Browns. Which pretty much tells me that Miracle Hardman is going to be the replacement for Elijah Moore, which I did not want to really see the Jets trade him. I know there were some issues before with him and the Jets, but bringing in Miracle Hardman is going to be good especially for jet sweeps. Bringing him in for jet sweeps are going to be good for them. So, but the Browns are trading Elijah Moore to the Browns for a 42nd overall pick, but the Jets are trading them a 7th round pick and Elijah Moore for a second rounder. So, it's going to be I think it's going to be good for the Jets, or for the Browns. One thing I noticed from the Browns, if you don't want a receiver, just trade him to the Browns. Cowboys have done it before. But let's see what else we got here. Austin Hooper has signed with the Raiders. A couple years ago, I'd be saying this is a pretty good deal, but last couple years that we've, he's been alright. He hasn't been that amazing, but he's had some head moments. But seeing Austin Hooper going to the Raiders is going to be just another weapon for them with O.J. Howard and Devontae Adams. So, we did see Foster Monroe sadly had to retire due to a medical issue he found out during his physical with the Saints yesterday. So, sad to see that happen for a player. I don't want to see anyone having to retire due to medical issues. So, hard to see that happening. So, Bears are signing special teamer Dylan Cole. Pretty much going to be another special teamer for them. So that's pretty much all I got for NFL talk today. There's not really much else going on. So with NFL stuff, that's pretty much all we got for today. But I'm gonna get right into it here with some NXT reactions, because I did not record yesterday, so I'm gonna get right into it here. Alright, let's get right into it here. NXT started with a pretty deadly segment. Pretty much them talking about NXT Stand and Deliver, them being host. Carmelo comes out. They were making fun of like Carmelo and Braun, their outfits or whatever. But then they got announced a tag match later on that night about Braun Breaker. Well, they didn't announce it. Trick Williams announced it because we all thought it was to be Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes, but it ended up being Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes. And one thing caught my eye with Trick Williams. And this has been catching my eye for a while now. I think, Trick Williams, without Carmelo Hayes, he's nothing. And that's what I felt like for the past year or so watching NXT. And I have a feeling sooner or later Trick Williams is going to turn on Carmelo Hayes. So, but I'll get into more of that here in a little bit. But that's just one thing that caught my eye on. But later on, yesterday, or on Tuesday, that's what happened. So, Tiffany Stratton versus Indy Hartwell. Winner gets to be in the ladder match for the women's title. Tiffany Stratton ended up with the win. And, going into Stand and Deliver, it's one of those things that, I want to see a heel women's wrestler win. So, like, a girl like Zoe Starks or Tiffany Stratton. And in my opinion, everyone that's in that match, so far it's Tiffany Stratton, Gigi Dolan, Zoe Stark, Lila Valkyrie. All of them are, like, great. And going right into it here, and looking at the women's roster, it's going to be one of those situations that's like, who do you think, like, anyone could win the match, obviously, but, and they're really building up the women in the women's roster for NXT with Lila Valkyrie and Sol Ruka. Them two have skyrocketed. Like, those are two women that are going to keep an eye out for the next however long, they're going to be in the company with. But out of both of them, I think Sol Ruka is better than Lila Valkyrie. But Tiffany Stratton, Indy Hartwell, good match, in my opinion. Good match. But Indy Hartwell does get a redemption match next week. So, Gallus had a segment with Gallus, Creeds, and Tony D'Angelo has been announced for Stand and Deliver in a triple threat. And I didn't expect the Creeds to be in there because I remember last week Tony D'Angelo telling Stacks that they were gonna go after the tag titles, and I totally forgot about the Creeds. I thought they were still dealing with Indus but having it as a triple threat though, and I think that's one thing that we've seen a lot through one thing I've seen a lot with NXT is there's a lot of triple threat tag matches or a lot of double tag matches, and it's good to see them building up the tag division because, with a lot of the other tag divisions, a lot of them are getting like on the main roster are not as good. Like, there's a couple tag teams I can probably think of on the main roster that are flopping so far, like, not Top Flight, that's a AEW tag team. Hit Row. Example, Hit Row. They, in my opinion, they have flopped since, like, it's not the same without Swerve there with them. So, but like I said, they can take an NXT tag team, boom, replace Hit Row, put Hit Row in, back in NXT, build them guys back up, and then bring them back up. And I feel like that's what NXT is really what the main deal is for them is development. And then when there's people that are not getting, over as well, they need more work, boom, NXT build themselves back up. And I feel like that's what they're doing with Apollo Crews. And I feel like Apollo Crews slowly is getting, in the past year that he's been back in NXT, he's getting himself built back up a little bit. So, great to see that. Wesley had his little segment with about choosing his partners. And one of the guys that really caught our eye when they came out was Dragon Lee. And I know Dragon Lee said he didn't want anything given to him. I think he said that last week. But he ends up coming out asking to be part of the match, which, in my opinion, they could do a Wesley Dragon Lee singles match and be perfectly fine. But going right into that little thing, and I know it's a ladder match. It's a Fatal 5-Way ladder match. And in my opinion, I think, this whole thing with Wesley, I think he's just getting overconfident about everything. He's thinking he could just come in having to beat everyone. Boom. And I get the open challenges. Everyone loves open challenges. You never know who's going to come out. You never know what's going to happen. But with Wesley, it's just, I feel like it's an overconfident thing. It's not that he needs to prove anything. He's proved a lot since him and, I think it was Nash Carter, since that whole incident happened last year with Nash Carter and his girlfriend or whatever. And, when they split up. Not many people expected Wesley to survive. And he survived. He ended up being a champion. And thanks to Nash Carter, he ends up being a champion 2 times last year. Because of the tag titles. And then boom with the North American title. So, I'm not saying thanks to his girlfriend snatching on him, but without whatever happened with that whole situation, Wesley would probably still be with the tag division right now. So, but like I said, Wesley has great potential. And I bet you a lot of people in NXT, once they're done, once they get a title and they're losing the title, they're going to be on the main roster easily. There's a lot of people in the main on NXT that can easily take main roster jobs. So, it's just how I see that point of view. But, Dragon Lee comes out, challenges him. JD comes out and, saying, pretty much going after he's done with Ilya Dragunov, he wants to go after the title. And then Ilya comes out, boom, they have their match. And in my opinion, Ilya Dragunov, JD Blue had a good matchup. It was one of those hard brawling fights that you want to see on television every week. And seeing how, and I said last week that there were going to be, I think it should be a pay-per-view match. But after what happened, I understand what they're doing. But they are having a good match for about 10 minutes, about nearly 10 minutes maybe. And, Ilya accidentally hits Dragon Lee. And Dragon Lee goes off. He's attacking both of them. And then boom, it just ends up like that. And ends up, the 2 other guys end up in that matchup against Wesley and Dragon Lee will be Ilya Dragunov, JD McDonough. Boom. Great right there. And one thing that caught my eye, I've seen some people on Twitter, just one guy in particular, not going to mention his name, but he's on Twitter, but he said that there was a stand and deliver needs more deliver. What the hell is that supposed to mean? The match card looks pretty good, and he said it, and the guy commented on someone who commented on his tweet, saying it looks just like another Tuesday to me. Tell me when you get Fatal 5-Way. Tell me when you get Fatal 5-Way ladder matches on Tuesdays regularly, unless it's a pay-per-view type, like a Heat Wave or Bash at the Beach or Bash at the, or whatever, or New Year's Evil, where it's not on Peacock, but it's on, you know what I mean? Kind of like what AEW does, kind of like thing. Just a different theme that week. But when they have those different themes, New Year's Evil and all that, it feels like a pay-per-view. Doesn't matter what you say. It feels like a pay-per-view. So, the people who are hating on Stand and Deliver, piss off. I think it looks great. Kiana James, Fallon Henley having more drama as Fallon Henley needs to stay out of Kiana's business. But at this point, I agree with Fallon Henley. She needs to get in the business because of some Sebastian dude. Kiana James gets caught cheating. She gets caught cheating. And that's something you never want to hear, is someone getting caught cheating. So, So getting right into that, it's with them and everything going on. I feel like they're gonna lose the titles at Stand and Deliver against Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. And in my opinion, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, that's perfect. That's a perfect matchup right there. I know they had a rivalry a couple months ago after Alba Fire lost to Mandy Rose in that last women's standing match, but them two becoming a tag team it's perfect. They both have similar character designs that you can put them in a rivalry, and then also put them in a tag team, and it'd work just like that. And that's one thing I love seeing is when you could put two people in a tag team and put them in a rivalry at different times, and they work like that. Good example: Undertaker, Kane, tag team, rivalry. You can put them at either way and put them like that and have it look amazing. Same thing with DX, with Shawn and Triple H. New Day at this point, you can do the same thing with New Day, Usos, Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian. You can do both rivalry, tag team, looks great. So, but I think Kiana James and Fallon Henley are going to get into a little scuffle after Stand Deliver, though. But Braun Breaker had a little backstage segment after that, pretty much telling Carmella Hayes and Trick Williams that Trick Williams was gonna cost. What I was pretty much trying to hear was Trick Williams was gonna cost Carmella Hayes, his chance, which I can see. I can see why Braun thinks that, because, like I said, for the last couple months or last year, Trick Williams is like, without Trick Williams, boom, or without Carmelo Hayes, there's no Trick Williams. And like, you can have Carmelo Hayes by himself and he'd be fine. Trick Williams, I think he's just one of those guys that needs to stay in NXT a little longer after Carmelo is on the main roster. Because after Stand Deliver, if Braun loses, I think he is on the main roster like that. I don't think you need to spend another minute on him on NXT. There could be a couple things he could work on, promo-wise stuff, but, when you got people in the main roster that can teach you all that, you can learn quick. Like, you got people like AJ Styles, you got people like Cody Rhodes, you got people like Theory who's coming up the ranks right now, and even though he's only 25, he can still help. You got people like New Day, you got people like the Usos, Roman if he's still ever there, if he loses the titles. You got people like Paul Heyman, Triple H, Michael Hayes. You got people all around the backstage that can help. I feel, and people like, and I might hear a couple people say, then what's the point of NXT when you got people on the main roster that can help? When you have a job to do, you can't drop everything and help the other person. When you got a job to do, you got to do it now. So, Triple H, he's got a job to do. He's got to book matches. He's got to help storylines. Boom. He's got to do all that. He can't drop everything and then tell you and drop his family time or whatever to tell you how you need to do that or what you need promo wise, what you need to work on. That's what meetings are for, pretty much. So and with NXT, you got Shawn Michaels, Matt Bloom, all them people, that can do whatever they help. Whatever they do can help. So, because they're always there. You always can call them, boom, tell them, hey, I need help. And I'm not 100% sure because I don't work there, but if I had a visual standpoint, I feel like that's what it would be like. But with the main roster, same thing with a lot of the older guys. They can't drop everything just to help you. But if you just go up there and ask, boom, they can help you. And that's what I just think. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not backstage, so I'm just assuming. But with Braun Breaker, Carmel Hayes, they're gonna be great. But I keep adding Trick Williams because he's always in these little segments. He can talk, all right, but he's always talking, hyping up Carmelo Hayes. And everyone needs their little hype man. Everyone needs a hype man, but the hype man never gets to succeed because he's always hyping up the other guy. So he never gets to hype up himself. So On to the next little segment we had. Wesley had a segment. Um, Pretty much talking about the last guy, an axiom, a guy who's been trying to get into this. He finally asked Wesley, and luckily there was one more spot left. But I think Wesley did Axiom dirty though, because Axiom has been trying to get there for weeks and weeks, trying to get us just a match for him for the title, and now he has to go through another loophole to get to the title, which is a battle royal. And Axiom seemed fine with it. If it was me personally, I would have a problem. I think Axiom should have been the first person Wesley should have said. And I feel like they're doing that for a reason. And I'm not saying just for to build the guy up reason. I feel like a rivalry reason why they're trying to do that. Because if Axiom don't win, you can easily start a rivalry with him and Wesley, whether for the title or not the title. And Axiom can say whatever he wants, blaming Wesley on holding him back for whatever reason. You could just look at it and visualize that to be banger, banger, banger. So, I feel like Axiom got disrespected by Wesley by saying that they need to do through a battle royal. Bro, he has done everything he can to try to get a match. But, it is what it is, man. But Gargano had a segment wanting to sign a contract with Waller in a match that Gargano is very similar with, as many of you might know, in an unsanctioned match. I believe he's had one of those with Ciampa down a couple years ago in NXT, at the peak of NXT. And Grayson Waller said he would sign it if Gargano does not show up next week on NXT. So I do feel like we're going to see Gargano, though. I feel like after Waller signs it, that's where Gargano's going to show up at. So it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a great end to their little feud that started about 18 months ago. So, seeing the ending of this is going to be great. And the match is going to be great. So, after this, we got a little vignette of Eddie Thorpe. I did say something about him, Tuesday when I was going through the NXT roster, but I didn't really know who he was. And when they showed the vignette of him, it looks decent, alright. But he will be on NXT next week, so interesting what we're going to see from this Eddie Thorpe guy. I've not seen much of him, so I'm hoping it's going to be good. So, Ivy Nile faced Lila Valkyrie for a contenders match. And with everything that Ivy Nile's going through the past couple weeks with Tatum Paxley, I feel like she needed this little moment to get a title shot. And it's like Lila Valkyrie did win, even though Lila Valkyrie does serve up in that role right now. So, great match. Lila Valkyrie wins. Next week it'll be Ivy Nile versus Indy Hartwell. I believe versus Kiana James, in a redemption match. And the winner will get that final spot. I do think Indy Hartwell's going to win either way, whoever's in the match. Because Indy Hartwell needs that spot. She needs that spot to be part of that. So it'll be Fatal 5-Way. And one thing I noticed, it's a lot of Fatal 5-Ways. It's a lot. I feel like that's with NXT a lot with their major pay-per-views. It's always Fatal 5-Ways and it's always ladder matches. And usually it's for the North American title. But this one's for the women's title. So it's like, what the hell? Fatal 5-Way ladder match. Bro, can we get a different kind of people? We don't need Fatal 5-Ways every pay-per-view, but still amazing. Looks nice. Lila Valkyrie comes out to win, though, so great to see that. Hank Williams, I am a fucking idiot. A Hank Walker vignette. Pretty much his uphill to the NXT main spot, or to the NXT, is great. He was a football player in college and everything. He was at the Atlanta Falcons practice squad, I believe. But, his way up to the NXT is pretty good. Pretty good in my perspective. But then you got people like Dempsey and Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak pretty much shutting that thing down. And I love Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak as a tag team. They're going to be one of my favorites if they keep going with this. But like I said, if they ever have a match, singles match again, pay-per-view worthy. I don't care what anyone says. Then we had the great debate. The great debate for Schism and Chase U. What a doozy. I did say a couple months ago on my Twitter, Duke Hudson, I don't trust him. I never have. I never will. And this past week showed why I shouldn't trust him. With the great debate, he did not even try. Bro didn't try. Andre Chase and Thea Hale, Tyler Bate, part of Chase U, suddenly is great to see. But the one thing I noticed is, I know Duke Hudson wants them to be a winning school type. I know it's weird to say for a professional wrestling team to have a school like that, but for non-wrestling fans at least. But he put Chase, if they can't Schism, they put him in an 8-man. And Schism said no. And Duke Hudson said they will put Chase U on the line. If Chase U cannot win, Schism gets Chase U. Let me tell you. Yeah. That's big. For how big Chase U has gotten over the past year. That's big. And I hate Duke Hudson, but he wants them to do something, succeed. He wants them to succeed. Boom. And I feel like they're only going to win because of Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate's going to carry them. Him and Duke Hudson are going to carry them. But one thing I haven't talked about, which I talked about the other day, Ava Raine gets her first match. Love to see it. Her and Thea Hale are going to go at it. Great to see that. So, it's going to be an 8-man mixed tag match. Because of the two women that are going to be in the matchup. So, but right into the main event here, Braun Breaker, Kamala Hayes versus Pretty Deadly. In just a regular tag match. Pretty Deadly ends up with a loss there. And as more as we get into Stand and Deliver, the more I can feel the intensity picking up with Braun and Carmel Hayes. And I know before it was just like a respect thing. They were told they were going to be the top-notch guys in NXT. But the more we keep getting into it, the more we keep getting more of this, the more it's going to be a personal issue than a non-personal issue. So, but that's pretty much all we got for NXT talk. I will be getting right into Dynamite now. So, like I said, if you like professional wrestling, you get to hear 2 shows in one day. So, let's get right into it here with this NXT for AEW Dynamite talk. All right, we're getting right into it here. It started off with a ambulance, with the Young Bucks going into the ambulance. I feel like we all know who did that, Combat Club. But one thing I noticed is, with their production truck, CM Punk is on their production truck with all the stuff that's been going on with CM Punk. They blocked his face. But yet they didn't block it a couple days ago with a match with Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs. But Young Bucks hospital scene, or going to the hospital. I'm going to talk about that more later on, but that's one of the things that happened. Orange Cassidy, Sting, and Darby versus Kip Sabian, Butcher, and Blade. This match pretty much came along from their live house event last Saturday. First one they've ever had, so great to see that for AEW. But Orange Cassidy, Sting ends up with a win. Sting did Orange Cassidy's little slow-mo, whatever, kick thing. So I can officially say I've seen it all. I've seen it all in life, so. But Darby, he doesn't really care about. He didn't look like he really cared much. It was just more about him going after MJF for the world title, and that's stuff that they should have kept building on. I don't know why they didn't fucking build on it. They didn't build. I don't think they built any about it this week besides them talking pretty much or them showing what happened. I don't think there was any word from any of them about it because everyone was so hyped last week. Well, let's go get back to compelling stories. This week there's nothing. It's like, get the fuck on. You're like looking at a goddamn fucking banner. Bro, this isn't WrestleMania. If you want to look at something, look at the WrestleMania sign, not the ban. WrestleMania don't got a banner, bro. Banners. Are you being for real? So, trying to be like WWE, I see. I'm just kidding. But, the Gun Club had a match versus Top Flight, for the AEW tag titles. And the more I keep watching the Guns, the more I keep liking them as a heel tag team. Like before, I hated them so goddamn much, but I'm starting to like them a little bit. They're starting to be, in my opinion, they're slowly becoming one of the best tag teams in AEW, regardless of what you say about the Acclaimed and all that. And by the way, I gotta speak about something about the Acclaimed later on here in this episode. So, but Guns Top Flight had a great matchup in my perspective of seeing. They had a great match. FTR comes out. FTR pretty much said, or Guns said there was no way they were getting a title shot. No way. And then Cash threw out that they will never tag with each other in AEW. That did not break it. And Dax, of course, and I feel like we're all going to see this, saying if they can't win the AEW tag titles, they will leave AEW. And their contracts are coming up. In April. So if they have this match before Double or Nothing, Guns are winning that match. FTR will be leaving, in my opinion. But if it's past April, hits May, Double or Nothing, FTR is winning. So that's pretty much all I got for that. We could either see the end of FTR or the legacy of the Guns. So that's the way I'm seeing it there. Jay Cargill had an interview about Taya Valkyrie, not Layla Valkyrie, but Taya Valkyrie. She one of the baddies. Jay Cargill. I can't remember the other girl's name. But she'll have a match with Taya Valkyrie going into on Rampage. And Rampage is on Saturday. So if you want to watch Rampage and you forget it's on Friday, nope, it is on Saturday tomorrow. Or on Saturday. I don't know why it's on Saturday. I think because of March Madness probably. But great to see Saturday stuff. So Stokely Hathaway versus Hook. And no disqualification match. All I gotta say is, who let Stokely Hathaway cook with his uniform? I was sitting there yesterday watching it with my mom, and I told her, who let this guy pretend he was part of Nation of Domination? Who let Stokely Hathaway think he was part of Nation of Domination? Just asking. He legit looked like a skinny version. It'd be like if all of them from Nation of Domination minus Owen Hart, all of them had a kid. Boom, it'd be Stokely Hathaway. So, it was very funny. So, and I was also saying to my mom, it was like Mark Henry because I was saying Mark Henry probably gave him his uniform or shrank his old uniform, gave it to him. Because that's what he looked like, a guy from Nation of Domination. If you don't know what Nation of Domination is, go back and see. He looked like one of the people from Nation of Domination. So, just saying. But Ricky Stark, or not, Adam Cole, in my notes here, it says Adam Coke. I don't think Adam's doing coke. But Adam Cole, baby, had a, pretty much interview or segment about who he's going to face next week. And I was hoping a surprise. Hoping somebody, surprising is gonna come out. Daniel Garcia, it was surprising. Daniel Garcia did come out, and they had a good segment, and I love, when Adam Cole said coming back from one of his old promos with Karrion Kross, what makes me special is when they ring the damn bell. Good callback, by the way. So, Daniel Garcia had a good promo. I thought they both killed it with the promos. And like I said, if you didn't watch it, I'm not gonna tell you everything that happened. I'm gonna start changing my ways here. I'm gonna start telling you my opinion on the interview, not what happened. Because if you didn't watch it, then well, go watch it so you can get my review on it. But Adam Cole, Daniel Garcia, great promos. They'll have a match next week. Adam Cole's first match will be against Daniel Garcia, and I feel like we're getting Adam Cole Jericho rivalry soon. I have a feeling about that one. So, by the way, that's gonna burn good. That's gonna be a good fire, not bad fire, but good burn fire. So, Kenny Omega had an interview it was pretty much Don Callis and Kenny worried about the Young Bucks, and I don't know if I heard Don Callis right, but I think Don Callis told Kenny it was probably the best that something like that happened, so Kenny could get his mind straight for a singles career, which really caught my eye here, because as you guys have been knowing, if you guys have been watching the podcast every day, every time I'm watching reviewing AEW, I've been talking about this stuff with Kanosuke and everything, and I feel like this is just another add-on to the story. I'm gonna look into this story every goddamn week until we get a conclusion of this. Okay, I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna be like an FBI agent. Okay, there's a guy on TikTok who's been getting through this Bray Wyatt stuff. This is gonna be me with Kenny Omega and freaking the Young Bucks stuff. Got it? And I'm not a big Young Bucks fan, but this has gotten me hyped. Okay, so we're getting right into it. Kenny Omega, the fact that it felt like Don Callis was saying it was best that they got hurt because he can look more into his singles career. It gives more of a lighting about what's happening here. And I thought Don Callis was like, okay, Don Callis, cool, we're getting, it's like a Paul Heyman to their Roman Reigns kind of thing. But that's not even what it looks like. And I'm going to get right into the main event here, but I'll talk about this other stuff that happened after the main event with Kenny Omega and the Hell Heel Del Vikingo. Hangman came to the ring. And, because, Combat Club took out Kenny, and, Hangman had this thing with this wooden board or whatever. I think there's nails in it, too. And, Don Callis fell and made it pretend like Hangman was hit Kenny. And I'm like, bro, starting more fucking drama now? I feel like Don Callis is brainwashing Kenny. Pretty much manipulating Kenny, making him think that, he doesn't need all these people. And which makes me even think more, as we get in this Kanosuke stuff, Don Callis is going to slowly let Kenny go. As more as we get into this, Kenny's going to start letting go of Don. Don Callis is going to find himself a new Kenny Omega, which is Kanosuke Takeshita. And boom, Young Bucks Kenny, they go out without Don. And I feel like that's where Kenny leaves. That's what I just feel. I just feel like that's all. That's just my little imaginary storybook, and right there, that's my little book right there. That's my Tony Khan perspective of things. As long as but the only thing is, I'm not doing coke. It might sound like it, I might act like it, but I'm not doing coke right now. So, just saying. But done with the Kenny Omega interview, I'm not gonna talk about what happened after the main event, because I will just talk about the main event in general after that. John Moxley versus Stu Grayson, and maybe we all know Mox was gonna win anyway because it's John Moxley. But and I thought it was a good match. After the match, Mox kind of took it upon himself to keep him in a sleeper hold like he always does, and that's when hell broke loose with them again. But like I've been saying for multiple weeks now, the War Games match, or not War Game, Blood and Guts match, it's just gonna keep going on from there. So Ricky Starks had an interview challenging Juice Robinson to a match at Rampage. And I feel, and if this is only a one match kind of deal, then I'm gonna be a little disappointed in it. But I think it'll be great. Because when Juice Robinson came to AEW, everyone was so hyped about it. Because what he did in Japan and everything. And now it's just like you don't barely see him. And I'm gonna get right into that with after this. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that before I get into Tony Storm and Sky Blue match. I'm gonna get into that with another Acclaim talk here. But Ricky Starks challenged to a match, and if it is the end, but I think they're gonna add more to it. But I'm hoping they do so. But as I was talking about the Acclaim, when they were getting the little build up to tag team fame, they weren't getting shown on Dark much. They weren't getting shown on Rampage much. They were getting showed every week, Dynamite wise. Every week, boom, 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 boom. They were the main people. They lose the titles. Okay, they have the match of Revolution. You're not seeing much of them anymore. And I feel this is the problem they have with AEW. Because I'm not a fan. I got tired of the Acclaim after a while. Okay. After a while, I just got tired of the Acclaim because it's I know it hasn't happened in a while, but it was like every week it was something mentioned, insulting WWE. And I know that's their kind of thing, make fun of whatever that's going on that week. But when they keep mentioning WWE, it's like I feel like they're doing this shit on purpose because every AEW person does it. Keep bashing WWE, keep bashing WWE. But I don't think they have a reason to bash WWE when they're doing better ratings wise than them. And I'm going to get on a little shoot here because everyone says, or the AEW fans keep saying, like diehard AEW fans, just AEW fans, said AEW is regularly better than WWE. In what category? Explain to me what category. Storyline wise, WWE sweeps them 4-0. Okay? When it comes to compelling stories, WWE beats them 4-0. When it comes to match quality, though, and like what match they're going to book that week, I think AEW has a slight edge over them. And I believe it's only because they have pay-per-views once every 4 months. I feel like that's the only reason why. Because if they had pay-per-views every month, they'd be showing less big matches than WWE. And that's just truth. That's just God-honest truth. Because if they were getting weekly shows here, or weekly or monthly pay-per-views, you'd be seeing MJF every week, which is what I want to see. I want to see MJF every week. You'd be seeing less of just random surprises out of nowhere. You'd see a lot of things would be different if the AEW went to all pay-per-views every month. And they could do that with a lot of the stuff that they have that are non-pay-per-view wise, Winter's Coming. There's a bunch of others I can think of, but I can't think about them right now. But it's hard to me to think. I'll get right into that later. But when it comes to match quality, of what match they're trying to produce there, El Hijo del Fanquinho versus Kenny Omega, boom. That's one thing they can do better is they can bring in people from other countries that are top notch people, and boom, they can have matches with their top notch people, and have it like there's no story. And I feel like that's where the AEW has them is you don't need a story, just boom, have a match, fucking blow the house down. But when it comes to professional wrestling nowadays, a lot of people care about the storylines. That's a lot of what people care about. They care about storylines. And that's something AEW's been lacking lately. In the past year or so, that's what they've been lacking. Storylines. I think the last good storyline we've gotten that's really top notch was Punk and MJF. I'm just being truthful with you. So, you've had little minor storylines, but they're not as good as what they got about last year. So people could say AEW is better, but in what category? I think besides producing matches and bringing people in as much as they used to, I think that's the only way they're better than WWE yet. But then again, WWE, they have standards. They can bring in people, work them up, and then do what they could do. They bring in people that were from other companies and try to succeed their way through. And guess what? They get buried through the roster as they get down on the roster. Like Johnny Elite, John Morrison, where the hell he's been. WWE, he was getting showed all the time with The Miz. Goes to AEW, boom, he's down. I don't know what happened to him, but something like that. Something happened to him. I get there's other companies that he's working for too, but still. He went to AEW, boom. Miro, boom. Andrade, boom. I can mention, and I love watching AEW every week, but that's just one thing that it takes me off. And AEW fans try to insult WWE fans off anything. It's like, I'm sorry, WWE's doing a lot better now than what they were used to. Like as Triple H has became, as Triple H has gotten up in management wise, since Vince let down, WWE's been a whole lot better. And I feel like that's just like a pressure thing for Tony Khan. Because Tony Khan tried to make it a competition. And it's not a competition-wise for them two. It's just two companies trying to run a show. And that's what they should make it feel like. Two companies trying to run a show. Because they're making them see... Every week they're just making them seem like they're WCW all over again. AEW is this version's type of WCW, and nothing can change my mind on it. But the only thing that, people are gonna argue with me about it though, but if you really think of it, they're just like WCW. They're an upcoming company. They're bringing in a bunch of people that WWE let go. WWE goes in a slump. WWE finds something that's gonna get their way back up. They get their way back up, and then the other company struggles a little bit for a while. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. It's pretty much... So let's see. I'm going to go through a timeline here. So, 2019. WWE was going off their peak from 2016 to 2018. That was peak WWE for a while, since the Ruthless Aggression era. Okay? AEW starts 2019. AEW is going high. As the pandemic era, WWE is going down low. Okay? WWE keeps letting go of people. As they're getting down more low, AEW is getting more high. Okay? And people are suggesting, oh, AEW is going to be better than WWE. This could be the next big company. WWE is going down for good. And guess what? Coming into this year, they signed Cody Rhodes. Boom. Brings it up a little bit. Vince retires. Triple H takes in charge. And then after the Punk scandal, boom, AEW's going down, and then WWE's going back up. Same thing happened with WCW and WWE. WCW, they were bringing in people like Hogan, Savage, Piper, Ted, all those type of people. Okay, and it took one guy to change that whole situation. Stone Cold Steve Austin, couple people: Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Undertaker. The four pillars going right up. It doesn't matter how good AEW has of wrestler wise. It takes one person to change. It takes 1 to 5 people to change that whole situation. And I know AEW isn't has not sold the company, and I don't think they're gonna sell the company. I don't think they're ever gonna go in debt where they need to sell, or I don't think they're ever gonna go out of business. At least for the next 10 years, probably. Because of all the money they're already bringing in. Unless they're losing money, which I don't think they are. But ratings-wise, though, they need to start cracking up Dynamite-wise. Rampage and Dynamite need to start cracking numbers. Them two alone, they're barely cracking a million views a week. I think every week I check in and see what the ratings were, and usually it's about 800,000 to 900,000. A week for Dynamite. Rampage, since they've been going, all it's been doing is going down. Hell, there was one week that fucking Impact got more fucking rating views than them. Come on. It's not, they need... It's going to be a point where TNT or whatever, TBS is going to get tired of it and say, hey, get these ratings up or boom, we're cutting you off. And I get 100,000 people is pretty good, but a lot of people that are through their channels with NBA, boom, they're getting millions. 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 But that's just my perspective of the entire thing. So, when diehard AEW fans say that they're better than WWE, no, they're not. No, they're not. Nowhere even close. So, that's just my perspective on it. Argue with me. At the end of the day, I'm going to win this argument either way. I'm going to argue until I die, okay? Because when I think I'm right, I'm not going to let go until I think I'm wrong. So, all right, let's get right back into AEW talk here. Tony Storm versus Sky Blue, adding more to the rivalry. Tony Storm with the win. After the match, hell broke loose. Willow, Nightingale, Rio tried taking them out as they left. Like I said, more War Games or Blood and Guts women's match. So, but right in the main event here, like I said, there's no storyline going into this one. There's just, high stakes for this matchup, because in 2021, before Kenny got hurt, it was supposed to be El Hijo del Vikingo versus Kenny Omega for the AAA World Title. Kenny gets hurt. Vikingo gets the title. Vikingo's held it ever since. Boom, they have a match. That's pretty much the story of the whole thing. But the match itself, all I gotta say is, if you never heard of El Hijo del Vikingo, you do now. That man is fucking amazing. I have never seen a guy do so many flips in my life. That man was just flying. And I'm one of those guys that likes technical and high-flying wrestling. So, if you're a high flyer with technical ability, and I hate to mention this guy on my podcast, but there's one guy that I hate to mention, but he has both of those abilities. He could do both. Chris Benoit. Boy, he could do both. As a performer, he could have done both. That's all. I'm not going to mention anything else of him, but that's just one guy I can mention that's off my head right now that can do both and be really fucking good. And he was one of those guys. And that's one of the only few times I'll ever mention him on my podcast, because I know how people feel about him. I know how people are sensitive about the situation. But if you're talking about one of those guys, and I love technical, high-fly type matches, he's one of those guys. He can do top rope stuff. He can do technical stuff. He can fly. Bryan Danielson, him too. So, I hate to mention Chris in this situation, but he is one of those guys that can do it. So the fact that I get to see some high flying, some technical movement in the Kenny Omega match, high flying is one of the best things that's ever come to professional wrestling. Because, before it was all about technical, down to the mat type stuff. And as more we're getting into the new ages of wrestling, we're getting some high flying stuff, some hippy dippy lippy shit. And I know it's hard for some people to, think about, or to agree with, because there's a lot of old heads that are, all about this Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior stuff. I'm sorry, if they can, in this day and age, you can't go at a pace that they can. If you're talking about 80s, people like British Bulldog, Dynamite Kid, those guys, example, Dynamite Kid, he is one of those guys that is made for the wrong generation of professional wrestling. In my opinion, Dynamite Kid should have definitely been a world champion in WWE, regardless of promo ability. Wrestling-wise, boom, he was all down the mat. He was fucking amazing. And I hate to mention this guy's name again, but Chris Benoit, even though he's a one-time world champion, he should have been multiple-time world champion. In WCW and WWE and ECW. Just laying that out for you. And Dynamite Kid same well. And I know both people have done horrible things. But when you think about the wrestling ability, one of the best you can ever see. But when you think about guys that have down the mat, boom. And Shawn Michaels for a little bit was wrong for his era. Because he started in 88. Back in 88, they were more about buff steroid beefy dudes. So when you get into that little generation where it's smaller guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, two guys that's pretty much I can get off my mind right now, but you know what I mean. When it gets to Rey Mysterio, when it gets to Dolph Ziggler, when it gets to Edge, like when it gets to people who are not all beefed up, that's where they get the transition of wrestling. And I think that proved that you don't need fucking huge men like Hogan or Warrior to hold that crown anymore. And I feel like that's where people get the overrated parts for Warrior and Hogan. Great characters, human being wise. I've heard everything about them too, but I don't know them personally, so not gonna say about them. All I know is they've said horrible things in their lives, but not gonna talk about that right now. But when you get into seeing that part, like they weren't overrated. It's just back in that era, they were the pillars. They were the people holding the crown. Holding that crown right up. Boom. And that's just how it was back then. Back then it was like they were going to pick the guy, they were going to push them all the way to the top. There was not going to be much building, pretty much, unless the fans started liking you more. That's pretty much how building someone up back then was. The looks of it. And nowadays you can build people up through storylines. Getting them with their wrestling ability. Boom, just build that up. And that's where, just like that. So. But that's all I got for today. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. I have talked a lot about this stuff today. Damn, a lot of talking. Great to talk about this stuff today. A lot I got to say professional wrestling wise. So, if you like long podcasts, like I said, great podcast for you. I will get back into NFL stuff on Saturday. I will get our mock drafts in tomorrow. Actually, I'll just do my mock draft. I'll do the the roster things tomorrow, and then I'll do my mock draft. Oh shit, can't do that. I'll do the mock draft tomorrow. Talk more NFL stuff on Monday, and then I will get on my SmackDown review on Saturday. So I will talk to everybody later. Have a great day. Don't let anybody tell you how to live your life. Do what's best for you. Do what you think is comfortable. Wise words for the day. So, have a great day.